allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Wyatt.
Here.
Engel. Here. Reister.
Here.
Stabell.
Here.
And Buns is absent.
Will be excused as being
Yes.
sick. We did not want to get it.
She can keep it.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, anything anybody wants removed? Not gonna have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, everyone. Citizens request an oral presentation. Leon, you wanted to address the council?
I do.
Okay.
I do, as a fact, yeah. Hopefully the deed of dedication and the plat map will still be on the agenda when we get to that point of the meeting.
It gets pulled off the table.
Yeah, I wanted to give some input on that. Looking at the deed of dedication, let's see, look first at point 6. All approaches to driveways will be paved with concrete except those that right across the street are facing Ranchero. And from the property line to the dwelling may be gravel or concrete. Don't know quite why that is. I noticed the Upper Ridge second edition is all concrete for everything. And that's kind of something to compare with.
I think it was to, when we had some discussion on that, it was to be able to match up closer to what your approaches are on the other side, on the south side of Ranchero, because you've got some that are gravel.
But then some of ours are 50 years old too, and A1.
True.
So I'd sure like to see them be concrete. That's my input. On number 7, in fact, point 7, 11, and 16 all address outbuildings, sheds, whatever you want to call them. But nothing says about size or the number or the location of outbuildings. And all of those are addressed for the Upper Ridge edition, and I really think they should be here too. And for the Upper Ridge, it says no larger than the attached garage, and they must be in the back lot, back of the house, and there can only be one outbuilding per lot. That would be pretty reasonable in that kind of addition. The way it is now, a person could put a building anywhere they wanted on the lot with approval of planning and zoning, of course, or Board of Adjustment, and build out to the lot lines. And I don't think that'd look very good in the residential area. And then number 10 states that RVs or fifth wheel camper is allowed to be parked on lots 37 to 46 all the time, anytime. And again, that doesn't look like a very good thing that we ought to be allowing in a residential area. Again, Upper Ridge doesn't allow them to be parked there at all, while you're loading and unloading, and that's it. So I'd like to see us follow Upper Ridge on that one. The dog and cat thing comes up again too in my mind. 3 cat dogs is an awful lot on a 1 acre lot. Upper Ridge is just 2. I'd like to just stick it to 2 dogs the whole way across the addition and be done with it. My main concern though, however, is, and some of this may be taken up in the future, you know, the 2nd edition, 3rd edition, and we're taking up this 1st edition tonight. But tracks D and E are to be used for commercial purposes. But we've got this whole map, and code 177.22 says that on the final plat map, let me read that. Well, I guess I've got here. If there's places that aren't involved that show on the plat map, they should be labeled not part of this plat. And that would help a lot in understanding the plat map if that piece of code were followed for track C, D, E, and so on that are coming along in later editions. Clarify things for us. And then I wonder too, the south part of tract D was what was originally to have been the multifamily dwellings, maybe the western home villas we were talking about. And they were at the east end of, what was that to be, Live Oak Drive. Well, they're gone now, but replaced with probably commercial, but that is zoned R3.
Not on Live Oak Drive. Live Oak Drive doesn't have commercial lots on it. That's in between the,
Yeah, it does. The south side of tract D comes down and occupies what was the east side of, what was D? That was Willow Oak, wasn't it?
Chris, are you able to put that up there for all of us to see?
Page 55 in the packet, it looks like.
So I think we have an inconsistency there in the zoning map and the plat map. But if we're not dealing with those tracks tonight, I guess it's not an immediate inconsistency, but it's one that could bite us in the future. So we need to be aware of that problem.
Track D
And that's
is-
it, that's the concerns I see and what as I glean through it.
okay, thanks, Leon.
Track D is here,
Where is it, Kristen?
right here, right here.
Yeah. See, right, that east part is Post Oak Drive, that originally went clear over to Butterfield.
It's still going to, it's
And
just
it
not.
was R3.
It
and
still is
may
going to,
still-
they're just, this
But
is,
that C is called tract D,
yeah,
and in the deed of dedication, it says D is gonna be probably commercial.
Well, it's
So-
definitely intended to be the,
Yeah.
tax bill.
So we gotta clean up the deed of dedication and clarify that. Okay.
Other items under citizens' request and oral presentations, I've got a email I'll read from Jack Lumen. Judy and I cannot attend the council meeting. I recognize there will not be a public hearing for Twin Oaks Development Final Plat subject matter. However, I'd like this email to be read in the citizen comments heading. According to what I read in the agenda packet attachment, it seems to me like maybe some things are changing along the way for Twin Oaks. Those perceived changes don't seem to align with much of the previous original intent of minor plat that required a lot of hammering out to complete. Possibly this is at least a partial reason why it was tabled at last meeting. You're aware at the last P and Z meeting, I asked about the intent for the bare east-west strip of land just north of the 1A lots on Ranchero. While it might possibly not be totally required for final plat approval, I feel strongly that we in the neighborhood and the city should be informed up front regarding its future intent. Preliminary plat showed it, why now is it not included? What is changing now? That said, other items in the final plat deed of dedication now showing up are possibly different from items that appeared in the preliminary plat. That process was a lot of hard work by many folks, and to see it go by the wayside now is quite disturbing. We all know full well what the intent was when preliminary plat finally passed. Do not let that vision get morphed into something different now or in the future, respectively. Jack Lunan, 4351 Ranchero Road.
and so what part is he talking about?
I think he's talking about that middle strip. It's like phase 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what he's talking about?
It'd be in between the, I think that's he's referring to.
Tract C.
That's, oops.
Bare east-west strip of land just north of the 1A lots in Ranchero. So that would be
That's
the,
that second phase.
yeah, the future phase in between
Oh,
the Ranchero lots and the Live Oak lots. Okay.
you said it's not.
Mhm.
It's just not platted.
Okay.
It's not spelled.
Right.
Yeah. This-
Right,
Because it's not what we're looking at this time.
Yep.
because that'll have its own final plat.
Exactly.
Moving along on committee reports and recommendations, we had down Public Works Committee July 11th, but we did that last committee meeting, we forgot to just drop it off. Public hearings. I'll open the public hearing regarding the request of Patricia Gordon, Leanne Cox, and Ronald Henry to rezone approximately 3.00 acres on Ranchero Road from A1 Suburban Agricultural District to R6 Single Family Residential District. Chris, any written comments?
No.
Any oral comments? Close that public hearing. Open the public hearing regarding the amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to traffic regulations. Chris, any written?
No.
Any oral? Close that public hearing. I won't go too fast, you can jot down the times, Chrissy.
Okay, go ahead.
Open the public hearing regarding the amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to alcoholic beverage control. Anything written?
No,
Anything oral?
no.
Close that public hearing. Fourth and final public hearings I'll open regarding the amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to cigarette and tobacco permits. Anything written? Any oral? Close that public hearing. General government, Hudson City Council maintains the right to waive the first and second readings of the ordinances presented and may pass the third and final reading of the same ordinance within the same council meeting. Can I have, on item A, discussion action to approve the third reading of ordinance 803, an amendment to amend, or an ordinance to amend the Hudson City Code 2017, chapter 106, collection of solid waste, amending the following language: collection fees. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Engel?
Aye.
Stabell? Reister? Wyatt?
Passes 4-0. Item B, and I'll footnote these three. These three are for changes to our ordinances to get in compliance with state regulations that have changed. We normally go through the first reading. I will be willing to accept a motion for the first reading or accept a motion for waiver of the first and second readings. So, item B, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 804, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to traffic regulations.
I would make a motion that we waive first and second and move directly to third.
Second.
Second discussion on that motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Now I can have a motion to
I would make a motion to approve the third and final reading of this ordinance.
Second.
discussion. Roll call.
Wyatt?
Aye.
Engel?
Aye.
Reister?
Aye.
Stabell?
4-0. Same for item C, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 805, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to alcoholic beverage control.
I would make a motion that we waive first and second and move directly to third.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then a motion for the
I
third
would make a
reading.
motion that we move the third, or pass the third reading.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Wyatt?
Aye.
Engel?
Aye.
Stabell?
Aye.
Reister?
4-0. Same then for item D, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 806, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to cigarette and tobacco permits.
I would make a motion that we waive first and second, move to third.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion that we pass the third and final reading of this ordinance 806.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Wyatt?
Aye.
Engel?
Aye.
Reister?
Aye.
Stabell?
4-0.
Love updating wording. 2 words in each one.
Item E, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 807, an ordinance amending section 16602 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Hudson, Iowa as amended by removing certain real estate from the A1 Suburban Agriculture District to R6 Single Family Residential District. I prefer just on the first reading on this one.
So moved.
Here a second?
Second.
Discussion?
And adding to the agricultural district, that's the idea.
Pardon?
The way it's written, it just, there's a typo, and then it, I don't know if a word got missed,
Yeah,
but.
we'll get it in the ordinance change.
Yeah.
By removing certain real estate from the A1, oh, just changing it from A1 to R6.
Yeah, and add to.
Yep.
Roll call.
Engel?
Aye.
Stabell?
Aye.
Reister?
Aye.
Wyatt?
Aye.
4-0. Item F, asking for a motion to take off the table the Twin Oaks final plat item from the July 23rd meeting.
I would make that motion to bring it back from the table.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have it off. Now, I would accept a motion, discussion action to approve resolution 2414, resolution accepting and approving the final plat deed of dedication development agreement of Twin Oaks First Edition, City of Hudson, Iowa. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion.
All right, I have one question for Brent. And you knew this is coming, right?
Well, I don't know.
All right, so we are approving phase one of this project tonight is what we're hoping to approve.
Correct.
Which is the two most northern streets
Correct.
with the housing that goes along with it. In the original
Part
part of
of
those
the
two
two,
streets.
of the most northern street.
Right. Right, with the exception of that northeast corner, right?
Yes, it does not include that.
That northeast corner.
Yes.
Right.
But it's the middle street, the
Yeah.
complete middle street, and the northwest side of the, I don't know the street name, sorry,
Yeah.
I wish I
It's
knew
like
those street
Pin
names
Oak
better.
or something.
Yeah, whatever those names are. My question is concerning, when we did the original platting for this, we had discussed the emergency access coming into the most southern street.
Mhm.
And my concern with this is the time of development to get that last street completed.
Mhm.
Because until that is completed, from what the plans are right now, there is no emergency access to get to those additional lots on the west side without coming all the way up and around.
Mhm.
Now, I've done some, thank you to the mayor who's done some research with the fire department directly as far as, and I've talked to some of the firemen as well, about their timing, ways that calls work as far as where the actual call comes in from. But my question to you, and this may be a I don't know answer, is there a time frame in your mind that is set to develop that last portion of the southernmost street up just north of Ranchero Lots?
Yes. So for us, we would move to do that at about 50%.
Okay.
There's a lot of interest,
Mhm.
and I think it's gonna move rather quickly.
Okay,
So my hope would be that we would be starting on that at the end of next year or the year after,
okay,
based on what we're seeing right now. There's no guarantees on sales, but
obviously.
we, you know, we're pricing it in a way to, because we partnered with you with a development agreement to really incentivize folks to build in this area.
Mhm.
And that pricing is well received to date. So there is no guarantees. When we thought about bringing that in later, we really looked at what we've done in other communities, and that's really that 35 to 80 lots before you get that secondary access.
Sure.
Cedar Falls made, I would say, a slight error at one point when they did one with 100 and
Or
60,
207.
you know,
207?
Yeah,
I counted.
and,
Yeah, we know that one.
so then they changed ordinance at that time, and even after that, we did one with 60. So I
Mhm.
can understand your concern, but I think we're on the very low end of what we're bringing before the access. And everybody knows, the development agreement incentivizes us to
Obviously.
move faster. And, so our intent is to, we're gonna build, we have clients that are ready to build, we're gonna build homes on our own, so we're gonna be
Mhm.
taking a large step to the 50%. Now, that might not even be ready till next year, those roads,
Mhm.
just based on.
Even the first two, right?
You're right.
My concern is not the number of lots that are in there for that secondary access. My concern is the time is from our Hudson Fire Department to that, because it is in Hudson Fire District,
Mhm.
and fire and ambulance. And that's why we had tossed around the idea of looking at some, potentially temporary things if possible. I know that's an additional cost. And I understand the delay or the development and taking time to get there. My concern in my head, and there's no guarantee of this ever, is that in 10 years, that thing is still not developed,
Yeah.
and we still don't have that other access to come into it.
Right, yeah.
That's my concern with it.
It, you know, that's always the devil's advocate in
Absolutely.
development, right? And you can never, there's no guarantees.
Sure.
But it's a highly sought after one, and you have to have rules, and that's why I urge the mayor to put one in like other communities, where you 35 to 80, whatever number you wanna pick a
Right.
number, because it was a surprise to hear,
Mhm.
just because you would be putting yourself where no one's at.
Right, and again, it's not the number, that doesn't even concern me. If there was 60 of them, I'm still okay with that. It's the direction and where your development is located as compared to the other developments that we've had in town. And that may be a discussion for future use too, that the distance from the fire station is what drives some of that, not necessarily I'm okay with the number. And we've talked about the upper ridges too, but they are miles closer to our fire station. Which makes a huge difference when you're talking minutes, you know, is what my concern is. You know, and even, I threw out there earlier, if there is somehow we could get in there, you know, if it's not developed in 5 years, we take the step to make that emergency access or something, you know, a timeline on it so that that's at least cared for in the
I'd be
future.
more than willing to put a 5-year timeline on it for you. I'd be more than willing to add
And again,
that. We would
I
do it within 5 years. I'm not concerned by that by any means, that we would be moving to that within 5 years. So if you wanna make that part of the deal, I'm happy to do that. That's,
Great.
Yeah,
My concern is we passed something that was a certain way. You know what I mean?
it didn't have a time frame on it, but yeah.
But I mean,
Mhm.
if you build, even if it's temporary, you take out 2 lots probably, right there?
the one that go through that road, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna mix.
Yeah, the road between.
Sorry,
Um,
I'm gonna point quick. I'm gonna just try to stay
Um,
off. So this is where this road is going to be there eventually
But it
anyways,
draw,
correct?
if you go all the way up,
Right, but this road is gonna be there eventually.
yeah,
But this would be the temporary to go through 2 lots right here.
right. And so, I mean, the thing is about 5 years, within 5 years, hopefully those lots are sold and there's houses on them.
Agreed, and that's the whole thing anyway.
And so then, okay, I didn't do the research, but I'm just guessing in my mind, you're talking about seconds, which yes, can make a difference, but, I'll be careful how I say this. If there's places where efficiency can be picked up,
Agreed.
I'm not sure it's at the end of the route by 30 seconds right there.
But it's not 30 seconds.
I mean, it's not much time. My other reason for not being concerned about this is people who buy those lots know
Are aware
what
of
they're
this.
buying.
I understand that part of it too.
You know what I mean?
Right, and again, my concern is not for tomorrow or next week's access. My concern is we've had developments that have been, land has been purchased and 20 years later, something's still not developed. That's my concern.
I hear you.
You know, so again, you know, if there's you know, and I hate to say even if there's just a gentleman's agreement, because that's not how city business works, obviously.
Yeah.
But
if
But I'm okay with that, with you, you know, I'm gonna take your word for this, and maybe I'm naive in doing that.
No,
That,
you'd only be able to take it once if I.
Right.
So,
never happen it again.
Not naive.
You know, but as a council person, my job is to look out for every single resident in the city, and those are gonna be residents of the city too. You know, so my concern is obviously safety and well-being of everybody, and making sure that that does get done. You know, but, yeah, if somehow, like I said, I just don't want it to drag out, and I don't assume that it's going to. I really don't assume that it's going to.
One of the issues with the plan is that you make those, let's say the lots get built. I'll get up there. If you start, these are desirable lots, right?
Absolutely, and you don't
So
want to
you
temporary
build,
them.
if you build a road into, and
Right.
you're gonna build a road to nowhere, I get your point.
Yes.
I don't think it's the place.
Okay, again, if I can be assured somehow that this would be within a reasonable time frame.
If Brent,
Less over where we are now.
Yeah.
if Brent has offered up
The 5-year
From-
guarantee.
5-year assurance,
Mhm.
then by having that document in hand, that if it doesn't happen within 5 years and Brent doesn't exist, we have authority to go in and develop it and assess the property taxes. If we decide to at that point in time.
I'm okay with that.
And,
I think I've
my
interpreted
friend
it.
Leon.
I see what you're saying. Okay. The 5-year thing didn't make sense to me, because you're saying if that second phase isn't developed in 5 years, we develop it.
Right.
Yeah.
I got it.
Or at least that
Or at
road.
least
Just
the
the
road.
road.
Just
Just
the
the
road
road.
is gonna be important.
The longer road
Right.
up to the second street is just never gonna work.
Right, it won't. You'd
So you'd have to,
You'd wanna follow that contour.
got it.
Does that make sense to
I
you
got
more?
it. Yep.
If you could feel better about this, and Leon helped me out a little bit with this, is, you know, we're starting to add fire hydrants.
Absolutely,
So we're taking a big step
Oh,
where
yeah.
there's a large gap
absolutely.
in Hudson where you don't have that at the fire.
100%
It's been a huge
agree.
issue in Cedar Falls. and
Yep.
That's why. they've
I
lost so many.
absolutely agree, and like I said, I just don't want it to sit, and I don't believe that it will, but the, you know, procrastinator in me says, please tell me in 10 years this thing isn't gonna be sitting here, and we still don't have an
Please
emergency
tell me
access.
that too, yeah.
One other thing that I saw in George's email, that, and this doesn't deal specifically with this situation, but I wanna be real careful about us setting an unrealistic precedent
Agreed.
of protection.
Agreed,
So that if the ambulance doesn't get there before grandpa dies of a stroke,
right,
all of a sudden the city's on the hook because we didn't put a stop sign in the right place to stop the traffic. I mean, I just don't wanna go down that road.
no, but vice versa, we also need to set the precedence that we are looking at
Reasonable.
reasonable
Yeah.
and what expectations, and again, like I said, it's not the number of lots that's bothering me in any way, shape, or form. And I do think that we eventually need to put a number on, you have to have so many in a, you know, after so many in a development, you need to have that second access. 100% agree with that. But maybe in addition to that, we have distance from fire department too. And it could be, if this takes off and grows and we get 1,000 people out there, we have more fire department staff and potentially other things that grow along with it as well. 100% agree. Like I said, my concern in my head is that we have something that, if worst case scenario, doomsday comes out and that doesn't get developed, can we go back and fix that somehow? And I'm okay, perfectly fine with that if we add that into, or this subject to signing that 5 years. I'm good with that.
I wanna ask some questions about things Leon brought up, which this is new to me. I haven't talked to my neighbor for about a month now.
Jeez,
But
what do you
anyway, we're still getting along, I think.
think? Doesn't like
Proximity.
you anymore?
I understand the gravel and the concrete thing, and like, you know, I've got an asphalt driveway. So, and what you were saying is the reason it wasn't nailed down to specifically concrete was to give options like that. Is there a way so that you could clean that up so it's not gravel per se, but it's
Sure.
something else, or is
Hard
that?
surface.
I think it has to be, according to our ordinances, I thought it had to be some
Dust-free.
sort of dust-free.
Sealed.
Okay,
So it'd be like the gravel that Kurt Beavers used for the storage sheds. That would be
Crushed
the norm,
concrete or
if that's it, and I haven't looked at it because this is the first time this came up in mind. Only thing I'll comment relative to Leon's comments is, were the dedication part of our public hearings?
Yes.
Okay, they were at public hearings, they were through various reviews. I think they've been reviewed enough from that standpoint, not disagreeing with any of his points and any of his wishes. But again, it's up to the developer on what he sees as reasonable within the overall development as well as the rest. So, yeah, I think it's been looked at enough from that standpoint. Go ahead.
yep, an outbuilding, I mean, could an outbuilding foreseeably go from one edge of the acre to the other edge of the acre and half the deal and the house is
That's a
cramped?
big outbuilding. but-
Well, I'm just saying, I mean.
It's gotta go, anything has to go through Board of Adjustments because it's all got setbacks as far as
Well, it's
what
got
the.
setbacks.
Yeah.
So that would have to be setback so far, and it has to be, they'd have to have plat maps for what they're building anyways too, wouldn't they?
Yes, it's all part of the.
Plan development, so-
They still have to follow, if it's not specifically laid out in their deed of dedication, they still have to follow the ordinances. So they have to adhere to the setbacks, they can only, their outbuilt, or their accessory buildings can't be more than 30% of their rear yard. And they can't put things in their front yard, it has to be in their rear yard, or their side yard.
Which is the ordinance in the R6 or R whatever,
Yeah.
R1s.
Yes,
These are ones.
These are R1s, right?
yes, yeah, inside the development is R1.
Okay,
So that's why some of that stuff that Leon
It's
has
taken
concern
care
on is taken care of from our own zoning
It's
ordinance.
just not
It's within
specific.
the
No.
restricted
But yeah, they would
covenants.
still have to follow, if it's not specifically in the deed, they'd have to follow the ordinances.
Yeah, if you have the 30% or
Right.
R1,
That's
I
all
guess
I
I had
Yeah.
kind of forgotten about that.
That's-
That-
Yep.
That's all
But
right.
it's
Yeah,
not a
there's
bad
certain
thing
things
to
that have to be
question.
followed.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yep.
livable.
Leon should have called me. We get along. We could.
Talked.
Yeah.
neighbor doesn't talk to him, but.
I'm selling me diesel fuel.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Thank you all, thank you both.
And the motion on the table is approve it as it was presented. Am I hearing the desire for an amendment to that motion that would be subject to receipt from Echo Development or whatever firm it is of a 5-year assurance on the connection. That's what you're offering basically, right, Brent? Or are you willing to have it to roll call without that being included, which I would prefer?
You can choose to go to roll call if you, this is your meeting.
So I'll move that we pass it.
As is.
As we already did that, we already have
Did
that.
Yeah,
that,
you already
so-
have the motion.
Okay, we'll go to roll
You wanna go to
call.
roll call?
You can choose to go to roll call.
Go to roll call.
Okay. Engel?
Aye.
Stabell?
Aye.
Reister?
Aye.
Wyatt?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Leon.
Look forward to it. Leon, call me. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Brent?
Yeah.
Thanks for getting the keys so fast. I got them already.
Oh, yeah,
today.
great,
Appreciate it.
awesome, thank you.
Where are we? H?
I don't know.
2415, it looks like.
Yes, H.
Yeah. Discussion action to approve resolution 2415, a resolution approving the street finance report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
They have a lot of equipment.
Yep.
That's good. Keep
Some
our streets
aging,
clean.
some's pretty good. Roll call.
Wyatt?
Aye.
Engel? Stabell? Reister?
4-0. Item I, discussion action to approve resolution 2416, a resolution for approval of an agreement to convert to MediaCom for internet and telephone. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Just had a question. Are
Roll
you
call.
gonna have 2 internet connections or just 1? Because it's, most cities,
Aye.
all counties are required to have 2 now.
Aye.
Stabell? Wyatt?
Aye.
We'll investigate that after the meeting. 4-0. Informational items, Hudson Municipal Electric Utility Board work session, July 31st, 2018. Normally I don't read these, I just wanted to make an update to the council. As most of you know, I've been assisting over the past 9 months or so HMEU and some financial analysis and review and stuff. One of the things that came out of that was they had a consultant evaluate current rates to do rate adjustments. And as part of that report, the consultant advised that the whole economics of local electric utilities has inverted over the past 10 years. So that when it was split off from the city of Hudson, it was making about $200,000 profit a year with comparable rates to competitors. Since that point in time, the whole industry has changed. From his analysis, which he advised the board, is that basically it is inverted. Rates have to increase in order to get to a break even. And the future of most of these small utilities is they should consider selling, because the larger utilities, especially with wind power abilities, are changing that. Part of that, there was a recent rate increase by HMEU. It was not advertised, it was not a very significant one. However, what it melded into it was some purchase power adjustment pricing increases that had been kind of automatically put in that did not take public notification, public hearing or anything. So when they talked about that, it was not shown as being a very big rate increase. However, when you take it from the baseline, including the 2 PPAs of had been a 0.01887, then it was increased to a 0.02887. The rate increase melded that in. So it felt like, wow, we got some cost stuff here. So I took upon myself on behalf of the city of Hudson to investigate rates. I have done investigation from a residential perspective, because I have, in the Glenwood Chase edition, is Mid-America Electric. The biggest difference between HMEU's rate structure and Mid-America's at this point is that Mid-America has a winter rate structure for 8 of the 12 months, which is significantly less than a summer rate structure. And at this point, HMEU plans to continue with a single structure. The past 12 months analysis of my house was that my rates would be close to 50% higher overall,
15,
50%.
50?
What recently, I had a resident of Hudson who's on HMU electricity give me their bills for the last 12 months. I have run those through the Mid-America rate structure, which is a public ability to get those rates, however you don't get the detail. I have the detail on my bill, which Mid-America has confirmed to me is the proper rate structure that other residents within Hudson are at. The last 2 months, which is under the summer rate structure, the bills are about 20% higher on HMEU relative to Mid-America,
Is it, what did you say, 20%?
about 20%. The 8 months of winter prior to that are 75 to 100% higher on HMEU compared to Mid-America rates, because Mid-America drops the rate during the 8 months. HMEU holds it constant. I believe from having worked with HMEU, their rate structure is what it has to be break even.
What are they per kilowatt hour rates?
Kilowatt hour rates without demand, because you can't pass through demand on HMEU because they buy wholesale electricity that does not allow any type of a break because they're system-wide. Anyway, I just wanted to let everybody be aware that I am doing that. I've also gotten a hold, and I did the sewer plant. The sewer plant is only one of the city of Hudson's pullers of electricity.
One of our, it is probably our largest.
It's probably the
Yes, it
largest.
is the largest.
They average about 40,000 kilowatt hours, 35 to 45,000 kilowatt hours per month. HMEU's bill was $52,630
For the year?
for the year. I ran it through Mid-America's rate structure. I worked with an individual in Mid-America who ran it through the rate structure that would have been in effect. And the price would have been $36,447. So the city of Hudson expended $16,183 over the past 12 months. Apparently, and this is preliminary,
Right.
but pretty solid preliminary from me being an accountant. I like to have stuff fairly close. So that's $16,000 in a year. What I have advised HMEU is that I believe that they should very aggressively at least research and investigate the possible sale. Now, obviously, if it came to that, it would take a vote of the citizens. They had a work session, and if you look at the work session, the minutes that they had, after I provided some of this information, their consensus was they need to research it and get another consultant involved to evaluate stuff. My personal observation on behalf of the city of Hudson, both the city and the citizens, is there's enough data to look at this more aggressively and figure out what needs to be done. It's not to say Mid-America would be a buyer,
Or
but
the
it would
only
be,
buyer.
it might be the only buyer.
It may not be though.
Yeah,
There are other
you don't
buyers.
know. There are other buyers that are out there, but I think it is a disservice to the citizens of Hudson and the city of Hudson to prolong the issue any longer than necessary to be able to come to a conclusion. I have gotten the largest information, or the data from the school. The school's largest user is, it's higher kilowatt hours than what the sewer plant is. I also, Dennis Holbach provided me his bills. I did the same analysis on his, and his is also follows the same track. So I do not believe I ran into an aberration. If I did, then the faster they figure out that I ran into an aberration, the better off we are, because otherwise, I just don't want to let it roll. And I wanted to go public with this, so it's in the minutes, so it's on video, so it's on TV.
I will say on behalf of a resident of the city that I appreciate your diligence in researching this, especially since truly this doesn't affect you personally.
Right.
This is not of a benefit to you and your household or anything like that because you are not on HME.
Correct.
So this is someone as an outsider looking in, you know, and I don't feel it's right for me to look, well, not necessarily to not look into it, but to bring it up as much as you have, simply because this does not affect you. And I wouldn't want to vote on something that would affect me directly like this. So I appreciate, as a citizen, your diligence in looking into this.
I actually, it does not directly affect me, but it can, because if we're paying tax dollars to pay for electricity, it
Right,
ends up
absolutely.
in my tax bill.
But-
Even though I don't have as much impact
Right, right,
as
right.
anybody
No,
would have.
completely understand, and there are other factors, and we all know
Oh,
this
yeah.
too, as far as, the equipment that's owned versus, you know, rental, things like that, how we get things repaired in town.
Yep.
There's a lot that goes into that, and I've had a lot of, I've grown up knowing some of that.
Mhm.
But, no, I appreciate your diligence in working with them, especially with their board, to let them come to their conclusions as well, so I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Do you have the kilowatt hour rates comparison? You're talking about the price, but I'm assuming you're talking about net cost, right?
Yeah,
So
I've
that's
seen his
taxes.
numbers, yeah.
Do you know what the kilowatt hour prices are on those?
It's all over the place. I'll get you a copy of HMU's rates, and then you can just do your calculations off of that and see what it comes to.
I guess what I'm asking is,
Go
is
on,
it
go on to
per
the-
hour? Is it per kilowatt hour?
Per kilowatt hour.
That's significantly different, or is it the tax difference?
Oh,
or the sales
no,
tax
I've got
difference?
tax out of that.
So there's no
It's
tax
equalized,
included?
it's equalized, it's a 1% straights. I'm on an absolute dollar for dollar scenario, so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Other informational items in there, reminder items, we got regular scheduled meetings, council chambers, set electric board and library board. Public Works on August 15th, 7 AM. Mayor's Task Force, August 21st, 4:45 PM. Personnel Admin Finance Committee, August 27th, 4:45 PM. Public Safety Committee meeting, August 23rd at 4 PM. Next council meeting's Monday, August 27th, and Monday, September 10th. Anything else before we have an adjournment? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bingo.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jim, it rained. The biggest thing is the winter rate, like Mid-America, is like 10 cents